Hi, this is Alex. In this short video, I'd like to share with you a simple phrase where you can ask the Vietnamese lady you're with if she would like to go and have coffee. Okay, so this is a non-threatening thing you can do, and especially in the early stages when you're first getting to know her. Asking her to go to lunch or dinner might be too big of a commitment. So asking her to see if she'd like to go have coffee would be a relatively non-threatening thing to do. And especially if she's in Vietnam or both of you are in Vietnam, this is probably quite easy because Vietnam literally has a ton of coffee shops, right? Because of the French influence. Okay, so as I said, what I'll be sharing with you in this video is you're going to be asking a mature Vietnamese woman. By mature, I mean somebody who's been born around maybe around the Vietnam War, right? So she's probably going to be in her 30s and maybe to her early 50s. All right, so let's go ahead and get started.
But first, how would you like an ongoing supply of free reports, helpful resources and unique cultural insights for meeting, dating and marrying a Vietnamese woman? Too easy. Just take a quick moment to subscribe and click the bell icon, and you'll never miss out again.
Now, before we jump into how to say this in Vietnamese, I just want to kind of review a couple of things. And if you've seen my other videos, you may recall that there's two things I always emphasize. One is that Vietnamese is a fairly formal language. By that I mean that how you address the other person, there's different ways of addressing another person depending on how you two are related. In this case, how this sentence is constructed is that the woman's name is Lynn, and the context is that you're just now getting to know her, and so this is a fairly how would I put this, like the context that you're not overly close yet. You probably haven't been going out for several months or anything like that. It's probably in early stages of the relationship, which is why this is a little bit more formal way of asking her versus a more casual way of doing it. Okay, and so this is not, there's nothing in here to say like dear or darling, anything like that. You're just asking her like Lynn, which is the woman's name. And then secondly, Vietnamese, it's a tonal language. Especially in this phrase, you're going to hear a lot of high-pitched words that I'm just going to emphasize over and over again, just so you could try to match the tonality of these words. Okay, so let me kind of share with you what that looks like. So it's going to say Lynn muốn đi uống cà phê không? All right, so it's Lynn is the woman's name. Muốn means like, đi means go, uống means to drink, cà phê coffee, không? You see, so the word cà phê is a Vietnamese pronunciation of the French word café, right, which is their a French's pronunciation for a coffee shop. So in this case, you're not really asking if she likes to drink coffee per se, as much as would she like to go to a coffee shop. Would you like to go have coffee with me? All right. So let me again read this to you for a couple of times so you can hear the tonality, and then I'll break it down for you. So the first word, as I said, is Lynn muốn. Okay. So you'll notice that in this particular case right here, the word, this word right here, this thing above the word says M-U-O-N. If I didn't have this little thing above the O, it would be muốn, which it doesn't really have any meaning, right? Muốn, if you notice, I kind of take the tone up a couple pitches, right? This is again what I keep saying, that Vietnamese is a tonal language. So if you were to say something like Lynn muốn, it wouldn't mean anything, right? So you have to say muốn, all right? D, it's just, D-I, just pronounced D like, to go, all right? So Lynn muốn đi means would you like to, go with, would you like to go to uống cà phê, right? Would you like to have a drink of, if you want to be a little bit more, technical, it really means like, would you like to go have a coffee with me, right, at a coffee shop? Just for simplicity, we're asking her like, would you like to go to a coffee shop with me? Okay, so Lynn muốn đi uống. So this is like I said, see, you notice this thing up here has the same thing up here, right? So this is basically the word uống without this, it would be say uống, which doesn't mean anything. Uống is to drink. Okay? The word cà phê, one of the things that's may not be immediately obvious about Vietnamese is that for the most part, most words are monosyllables, meaning that they're single syllable words. So the word café, which is from the French influence, Vietnamese really didn't, the Vietnamese language just adopted this directly from the French, and then they used the Vietnamese sound for it. So the word café is the Vietnamese pronunciation of the word café in French. Except if you notice, it's not an F, right? Vietnamese, ironically enough, doesn't have the letter F. To represent the F sound, Vietnamese uses the PH to represent the letter F. Okay, so that's one reason why the word café in French is C-A-F-E, right? But in Vietnamese, it's broken up to two words, café, you see? And then the word không is what we call, it's a catch-all phrase to say more like not or not. Okay, so this is more like, Lynn, would you like to go have coffee, with me, right, or not? If you leave this off, Lynn muốn đi uống cà phê, you can do it, but it sounds a little bit awkward. That's one reason why this word at the end is just there for out of habit. All right. So one thing I do want to mention here, a couple of things that I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff here at you, but this word right here, ga, it's what we call a hard C sound, right? Ga. Không is a soft C sound. You see, in other words, it's not cafe, it's ga. You see how like my lower lip drops and it says ga. You see, so I'm lowering my jaw to emphasize that pronunciation. It's not ka. You see, if you say ka, that's what we call a soft C sound, which is how most English-speaking people tend to pronounce the letter C in Vietnamese, right? Which is phonetically incorrect. You see, when Vietnamese has a soft C sound as well, but it's usually preceded by the letter KH. Okay, so if I were to pronounce this word with a hard C sound, if I were to substitute the KH for the letter C, it would be công, which means like effort or work. And of course, in this context, it's gibberish. I'm just trying to use that as a way to emphasize the different C sounds that Vietnamese has. So Vietnamese has a soft C sound and a hard C sound. And in the sentence, we have both, okay? Cà phê versus cà phê, which is how most English-speaking people can pronounce it. And here we say it's không, which is how English is, the C sound typically sounds in English, except in Vietnamese, it's spelled with a KH. So when you, just as quickly summarize, when you see the letter C in Vietnamese, you have the hard C sound. When you have the KH, then you have the soft C. All right. So I'm trying to avoid, overly complicating this, but this is, how different sounds in Vietnamese are constructed. Okay. So let's try this sentence again. Linh muốn, again, Linh, do you want? Đi, to go. Linh muốn đi uống, which is to drink. Linh muốn đi uống cà phê không? Linh muốn đi uống cà phê không? All right. So as I said, this is translated to Linh, would you like to go have coffee with me? That's probably the closest translation in English. All right. So as I said, just to wrap this up, the reason that we use the woman's name in this kind of sentence structure is because it's still the early days of courtship, and you may have only met her maybe a few times, either online, using our services, or even face to face already, right? And so my assumption here, the context of this conversation, is that you haven't been, you're not in the later stages of courtship, for lack of a better word. Like you haven't gone over 10, 20 different dates, because if you were to do that, you would substitute her name for a different word, which is probably closer to meaning like dear or darling, more like dear, would you like to go have coffee or not, at which point you wouldn't use Lynn as in the sentence, because then it sounds a little bit, we don't be, at that point, if you've been going out for a while, you wouldn't be using her name in that context. All right, so let's just try to do it one more time, and then let's wrap it up, and then I'll give you some parting comments. All right, so let's try this one more time again. Linh muốn đi uống cà phê không? Linh muốn đi uống cà phê không? Linh muốn đi uống cà phê không? All right. So that's how you would ask a lady that you've taken a liking to see if she'd like to go have coffee with you, which is a very common thing to ask, especially if you're meeting somebody in the early stages of your getting to know a Vietnamese lady. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this. As I said, play this video, rewind it a few times, fast forward it a few times, as appropriate, and then just practice the different sounds. As I said, some of these sounds may sound a little bit odd the very first time you heard it, because of the fact, as I said, Vietnamese, has a little bit tonality to the different words. All right, and that's going to then determine, how close you say this. And in future videos, I'm going to talk about how she can reply, and then how you can have a different conversation with her. All right. So in wrapping up, I'm going to say thank you in Vietnamese. Okay, so it's going to be cảm ơn. All right, cảm ơn. And Vanessa and I really enjoy sharing these videos with you. It's been my pleasure, to get this opportunity to share with you a little bit about our culture, and love to hear your comments about it. And if you like this video, please, put your comments below, and also tell, a couple of your friends if they're interested in this topic, and we'd really appreciate that. All right. So this is Alex signing off, and we'll see you in the next video.